So there we go. So anyway, we're talking about mindset today. I call this thing a mindset tune-up, and you can call it whatever the hell you want to call it. But we're going to go through some points that might help you get the right
He said,
mindset.
I call this a mindset tune-up.
Uh, anyway, whoever said that, whatever you said, thank you for your contribution, but now mute yourself. All right, so what I think the first thing I wrote down is you got to be a big dreamer. If you're going to get in this business, if you're going to be a independent contractor, if you're going to be self-employed, which is what we are, okay, you've got to dream big, right? So some of you, I think, don't have any problem with that. I talk to people all the time, and they're like, "Well, I'm going to get in the business, and I'm going to make $500,000 my first year." I think that's great. I think it's unlikely, but at least you're not having a problem with small thinking, okay? Because the opportunities in this business are truly unlimited. I mean, there is no boundary on what you can make. Like if you go to work for like Dominion Power, right? I mean, and you're a certain thing, they have parameters. You're only going to make this much. And if you go to work for some other corporate job, you're only going to make this much. In real estate, you could make zero or you could make as much as you want to make. I mean, that's true, right? I'm going to look down at your, everybody nodding if you think that's true. So there's no doubt that you can do whatever you want to do. The problem is sometimes we put boundaries on ourselves. We're like, oh, well, I'm not as good as Tommy Sabiga. I'm not, Mike Chanals is just so much more, has a different personality than I do. So I think I'm only just going to get little results. Well, don't do that to yourself. Whether you've been in the business 10 years or whether you've been in the business for one day, don't put small boundaries on yourself. If anything, you want to think too big, and then we can dial it in. But you have to dream big. Realize that this year, so far this year, I think we have 5 people in the company that have brought home over $1 million in real estate commissions. I mean, can you believe that? That's awesome. I mean, how would that make you feel if that was you? What if you really had a crappy year and you only brought in 500,000? All right. I mean, half of what those people are doing. So it's out there. We've got a roadmap. We can show you how to do it. And these people are human. They didn't win some kind of real estate lottery and all of a sudden get a bunch of free clients or something. I mean, these people have busted their ass, but they are doing it, and you can do it too. And you can change your life. Most of you got into real estate because you wanted to change your life. Maybe you didn't want to work for the man. Maybe you didn't want to have to work a 9-to-5 job or something that's even worse than that. I don't know what the reason was, but most of you wanted a change, and you wanted a change for the better. That's dreaming big from the get-go. And so the right mindset, whether, again, you've been in the business one day or whether you've been in the business for 25 years, is to think big and constantly think big. I wrote this down. What would your life be like if it were perfect? What would be perfect for you? We forget about that. Maybe jot some things down. What would your life be like if it was perfect? What kind of things would you do during the day? What would you do for other people? What would you do for yourself? What would change in your life if it was perfect? So that's number one, be a big dreamer. All right. The next thing, and this one, we're going to have to talk a little bit about it. I wrote, in order to have your mindset right, you got to be doing what you love. If you look at people that are very successful in life, I don't know that many people that are ultra successful that hate what they do. Okay. I mean, if you look around and talk to people that absolutely hate what they do, usually they are miserable and they're not very successful. They don't have a whole lot of money if they literally hate what they do. All right. So there's a song, I can't remember who the artist is. Maybe it's if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. All right. So technically, like in my perfect job would be I would like to play with Labrador Retriever puppies every day. That's what I think. I think that would be my optimal job, just to go and lay down and roll around the floor with Labrador Retriever puppies. Okay. So if anybody knows where I can make the same money at that I can do selling real estate, please let me know, and I will turn in my resignation to Mike Chenault right away. Okay. Do you think that's possible? The ones I can see, shake your head. No, that's not possible. Labrador Retriever play guy is not a very valid, you know, occupation in today's world. So, what sort of how my mindset works on this thing is I don't actually love every single thing about the real estate business. There's a lot of it I do love, but you know what? This business has allowed me for 25 years to change my life, to provide for my family, to be a great dad, to be the best husband I could possibly be. My wife might argue, but I've tried to be a good husband. I've tried to be a good teacher and mentor and a team leader and you know whatever else I can be. And the real estate business has let me do so much that I love who I am in the business, even though I don't love everything about the business. Does that make sense to you? There are going to be days when it sucks, okay? But that's true for anything. So don't get sidetracked like you have one bad day, you know, the termite report comes in and the deal falls apart. Hey, that's just life, you know? But overall, how good is it? How good will it be when you make the income you want to make? How good is it for some of you that are making the income that you want to make right now? That's what I'm in love with. And that's why I can continue to be passionate about being in the business. And when you love what you do and you love those results, then you become sort of attractive to the world. People want to work with you versus if you hate what you do, then you sort of repel everyone away from you. Do you get that? Does that make sense to you? Nod your head. If you're watching this and your camera's on, nod your head. At least entertain me as I'm trying to present this great stuff to you. So I said, if you don't love prospecting, figure out how to love the results. Figure out whatever you like to do. If you don't like door knocking, find something that you like to do. If you don't like doing open houses, find something that you like to do that works. If you hate every single aspect of the real estate business, you need to get a different job. I mean, that's just the way it is. So I think about this all the time too. I think about how much better I have it when I wake up in the morning and go to do this job than what other people might have to do. And you'll hear me say on some other classes, don't always compare yourself to other people. But I'm thinking, you know, how much would it suck to have to get up and dig a ditch every day? Oh, I drive down Sliding Hill Road in Hanover County every day, and now they're paving that road. And the other day it was like 85 degrees, and they were like there's boiling asphalt, and these dudes are just dying getting all that stuff straight, paving that road. I'm like, thank God I get to do what I do and earn the income that I get to earn and help the people that I get to help. Not every client is going to be your favorite client. Yet we do get to work with some great people and we can make a difference in their lives too. So, you know, do what you love. And if you can't, if everything about it isn't what you love, then find out what you do love, focus on what you love. And if you like the results, focus your love there. All right. Number 3. All right. This is going to be sort of contrary to why a lot of us got in the business. I wrote this down. I wrote down, see yourself as self-employed with an asterisk and take control of your business. All right. So what a lot of us did was we didn't like working for a boss. We didn't like the structure of corporate America. We left what we used to do because we wanted freedom. Good for you. All right. Nothing kills more real estate agents than freedom because you can't handle it. So you have to put in disciplines. You have to try to do things so that you're just not wandering around hoping that things are going to happen. You've got to put something in order to get something out of this business. And a lot of people don't do that. So you're self-employed. Congratulations. You can do whatever the heck you want to do, yet you better be doing the things that are going to get you the business so that you can get the benefit that you want. Nobody got in this deal to lose. Like every time I go to Mosley Flint and speak to the class, I always say, who wants to improve their situation in life by getting in the real estate business? Everybody raise their hand. So who wants to be successful? Now, who wants to fail? Nobody raises their hand. Yet, you know, how many people that you were in the real estate class with do you think are actually going to succeed versus how many of them are going to be out of the business in the first couple of years? Unfortunately, it's over 85% are going to be out. And I hope none of you are in that category. But what you have to do is treat this like a job. You have to have some discipline, even though you're self-employed and you can do sort of what you want to do. You got to make sure you're getting the things done that need to be done in order to be successful. So see yourself as self-employed and celebrate that, yet realize this is a job and you have to treat it like that. All right, next on the list. For new people, this is especially important as you get to like the end of month 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Never consider the possibility of failure. Do you hear me? Never consider the possibility of failure. As soon as you really put that in your head, then I think it's a seed that is going to take root and grow and can screw you over hard. I mean, it's terrible. All right. So never consider the possibility of failure. What happens when you start thinking and you get some doubt? Okay. What you need to do is you need to double down on your efforts. You need to have some kind of accountability partner who can encourage you and say, you know what, Davina, you know what, Caitlin, whoever it is, you're good. You can do this. You've got to stay in the game, because when do you ultimately fail? When you quit. Okay, that's when you fail. Okay, just because today you didn't find any success, that wasn't a failure. Okay, that's just maybe part of the journey. But when you quit, either physically or mentally or both, that's when you're out of the game. So you might get knocked down. I just tell you, hey, if you get knocked down, get your ass up off the mat. You know, that's all you got to do. You know, it's not that hard. You just got to keep plugging. There's a great book that I recommend all the time. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's an old book. But there's a story in there about this guy that buys a gold mine. Okay. And you can imagine, you get a gold mine, you're going to be pretty fired up. And I'm going to go strike it rich in the gold mine, right? Well, that's the real estate business. You're in the gold mine right now. Okay. Unfortunately, when you first start hitting with the pickaxe at the wall, do you automatically strike gold? Usually not. I hope you do. I didn't. Okay. But so you're beating at the wall, you're beating at the wall, you're beating at the wall, and no gold. So what are you going to do? Well, in the story in Think and Grow Rich, the guy eventually just throws in the towel. Screw it. Sells the gold mine for pennies on the dollar. This is a true story. The next guy, the buyer, comes in. He starts doing it like right away, strikes the biggest vein of gold in California history. Okay. So what that story tells me is, if you get those little doubt drops in your head, use those as energy and motivation, because that should tell you that you're on the verge of a quantum leap, of a great discovery, of success. Okay. The time when you're going to be most doubting yourself is right before you're going to find success. I honestly believe that. Okay. So you just have to get doubt and disbelief out of your mind and never consider the possibility of failure. So you have to fill your mind with positive thoughts, not things like the news and not negative gossip and all that other stuff that could help facilitate those bad thoughts in your head and come over into thinking that you're going to fail in the real estate business. Okay. So that's a big one. The next thing I wrote down is keep a clear sense of direction. This sort of parallels some of the other thoughts, but you got to know where you're going. Okay. You have to have some kind of a roadmap. You know, Benjamin Rogers, a couple of weeks ago, we did sort of a business plan thing. Hopefully you were on that and saw some of that and have filled out some kind of a business plan. Does it have to be so specific that it plans out every move that you make of every day? It does not. But you need to have a general idea of where you are going to go so that you can possibly get there. So you need to think about, how many houses do I want to sell? And you got to track a little bit of that. How many days am I going to work? And you got to track that. How many people am I going to contact? And I got to track that. How many listing appointments do I want to go on? And I've got to track that. You have to have some idea of your direction and a clear sense of your direction. And you know what? The reason that people don't do that is because they don't like the possibility that they might not get there. That's not failure. If you say I'm going to sell 24 houses and you only sell 12, that's not a failure. okay? Because you can come back from that if you don't quit. You just have to look at what's the reality of the situation is, and then maybe make some adjustments. Talk to me, talk to your manager, talk to a mentor, and make some adjustments in order to get there. Find out what you are good at doing, find out what's working, and double down on those activities, and then get away from the stuff that isn't working. You know, I see people all the time. Here's one of the things that a lot of new agents do is they spend so much time on flyers and social media and God only knows what else, the minutia of the deal. And I'm not saying that's all bad stuff. I mean, are flyers bad? Of course not. But I can tell you, I'd rather talk to 25 people about buying or selling than have a real fancy flyer. I mean, I don't know if I've ever sold a house with a flyer, but I know that I've talked to people at the gas station, and next thing I know, I'm at their house, sitting at their kitchen table, and they're signing a listing agreement. You know, I guess people see things on social media and they might contact you, and that's a good thing. But I know that if I do an open house, I got a better chance of having somebody who's going to become a client for me there. So just a couple of examples there. So you got to have a clear sense of direction of what you're going to do and where you want to go, and you got to try to stick to that plan. And it can be adjustable along the way. All right. This one maybe is redundant as well, but work hard but smart. So many agents wind up doing that. So many agents wind up doing things, and I just let Suzanne Super in here, and this is one of the things that she did at the beginning is I think she worked hard, but maybe she didn't work quite as smart. Sometimes you need to be able to, one thing is like delegation. You need to be able to if there's other people around, if you're on a team, or if you have good affiliates and a lender and a attorney and a home inspector, let them do their jobs. You have to be willing sometimes to let go in order to move forward. So if you try to do every single thing in the real estate transaction, it's probably going to get done. It's probably going to get done very well. However, it's going to keep you from finding new clients, which is ultimately your job and ultimately the key to you finding success. So coddling a transaction can make you feel like you're working hard. And again, I'm not saying we're abandoning our clients. It's not that we don't care about the transaction we do. We have to remember that in order to stay in this business, we have to find somebody else. So once you get a deal, you've got to leapfrog in front of that deal and find another one in order to stay in the game and be successful. Does that make sense to you? I hope so. So you got to work hard, but work smart. One thing you can do there is to, maybe once a month, sit down with somebody who is achieving at the level where you'd like to be, take them out to lunch, ask them some questions. Say, what have you done in the past few years to go from working just hard to working smart? There's a great story. I cannot remember the name of the author of this little story thing, but talks about a fly, right? Like a fly. So if you're a fly and you're just sort of cruising around, I don't really know what you think about, but then you see light out this window right here. Like if you're a fly, you're gonna be flying around, and then you fly over here, right? And I can't get my cord all the way, but so then you want to go outside. So what you do is, if you're a fly, because you're stupid, you just smash into the window over and over and over. Have you ever noticed on a windowsill how many dead flies, if you're in a nasty house, how many dead flies could be on that windowsill? Okay. Yet, what if there's a door that's wide open right over here? So working hard a lot of times will make you wind up dead on the windowsill, where all you had to do is be smart and fly back, fly over here, and then realize, hey, there's a door right there. I could leave that way. Real estate is no different. There's so many ways to increase your efficiency and to work smarter and not necessarily have to work harder, so you can continue to focus on business generation and doing things better, being better for yourself and for your clients. So work harder, not smarter. I mentioned already about spending time with the right people. So if you spend time with negative people, what does that do to your mindset? It destroys it. Mindset is very contagious, both the negative mindset and the positive mindset, ultra contagious. So if you're running up hanging around with fun, energetic, positive people, likely that you will become one, because they ain't going to hang around with you if you're negative Nelly or negative Ned. So think about that. Next one I wrote down is be coachable. If you want to give yourself a mindset checkup, you've got to put yourself in a situation where you're getting some positive input and some good ideas from other people. And then you've got to let your ego, you have to release your ego to allow that to come into your brain. You have to be willing to change, which is very difficult to do. You may not be the world's greatest salesman naturally, or salesperson naturally. Okay. Some of you are fabulous salespeople. You have the salesperson's personality. Okay. Some of you don't. And that's all right. You can change in order to become better at selling real estate. And many of you might need to do that. There may be others that need to not change their personality, but they need to change the way they go about doing things. You have to admit, you know what, maybe I have some weaknesses, right? Don't tell my wife, but even I have some pretty significant weaknesses. So what did I do? I remember sitting on the beach after my first year in the real estate business with Mike Chenault. And of course, at this time, this was 1996. There were no teams. Very few people had a real estate assistant. Mike was only the second agent that I ever knew that had a real estate assistant. He said, Deane, you need to get a real estate assistant. I'm like, I can't afford a real estate assistant. He said, you can't afford not to have an assistant. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty deep. And I started thinking about that. And I realized that I suck at paperwork. I'm a hunter. I'm a killer. I'm the guy that likes to go out, do the deal, shake the hands, make it happen. I don't like skinning. I don't like mopping up. I don't like the minutia of the transaction. I needed to have someone and put someone in a position who was good at that so that I could get away from that and then be in the position to do what I do best. That is an example of sort of listening to somebody, flushing my ego and being willing to take a chance. I couldn't afford an assistant at the time that I hired one, yet I couldn't afford not to have one either. And that was I think the single biggest thing that propelled me to the higher levels of selling real estate was realizing that I need to put myself in the best position. It's like Tom Brady. He's a great football player. Can he play offensive tackle? No, he cannot. So he plays quarterback. Then you get a big guy to play tackle, and you have a punter who can punt. You put people in the right positions and the team works. And you can do that whether you hire somebody or not. You can start working on things to help yourself by improving your weaknesses and maybe focusing on your strengths. So anyway, be coachable and flush your ego. Here's another one. Be prepared to climb from peak to peak. Okay. So peak to peak. So if you go, you'd hope your real estate business, like if you're here now, it's just going to be going straight up. Okay. But you realize life is like this. You go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. But you hope the long picture of the graph is going to be going like this. But if you look at it with a magnifying glass, it's like this. So you got to be willing to obviously accept those peaks. That's what we all want. We want to be on top of the world. But guess what's in between those peaks? What do they call those? Valleys. And you got to be willing to be in the valley every once in a while. But here's the thing. We call those slumps in real estate. Anybody ever been in a real estate slump? I have. Okay. My mentor from early in my career, Mike Ferry, said it best. If you find yourself in a hole, what should you do? He says, stop digging. Stop digging. And that is contrary to what we normally do. We want to have self-pity. We want other people to feel sorry for us, which is basically like digging deeper and deeper and deeper in the hole. You know what? At some point you got to say, hey, wake up. Let's get ourselves out of this thing and get moving. What do we have to do? What do I have to do? And the first thing is you got to take responsibility for your actions. I got myself here. How am I going to get out? And then start chipping away at it. And then all of a sudden you're back up. But when you're like, oh, Beth Ann is the problem. She did this. And then Fred did this and whatever else, that ain't getting you anywhere. You got to accept personal responsibility and then make a plan to get the hell out of it. So understand you're going to have great peaks, but there'll be valleys in there too. And you just got to live with that and understand how you move forward. A real estate deal is really like this. So here's, so you get, like, let's say you have a buyer. That's exciting, right? We're up here. Everybody following my finger graph? Let me point this way. So you get a client, yay, get a client. And then you send her to the lender and the lender calls you and says they have 250 credit. That sucks. Okay, but then they work on it for 6 months and come back and then now they have credit that's acceptable. Excellent. And then you take them out and the house they want, their budget is 250, but the houses they really like cost $1 million. Oh no. And then you take them back out because now they feel good about it and you find the perfect house. It's in their price range but then there's 1,700 other contracts. Oh no. And then you show them something else and they actually get one. Yes. And then you have the inspection. Oh no. And then you see how that's real estate, right? Everybody get that? You got to be able to just deal with that and not get overly excited when you're at the peak, and you can't get so upset and create all this drama that we like to create when you're at the bottom or in the valley. It's almost best if you can, if this is the absolute peak up here and this is the bottom, if you can stay here, just sort of keep your emotions between the lines, that's going to be more healthy for you and lead you to more success. Well, let's see if I have a couple more here for you. I know that you're on the edge of your seat to hear more great stuff. I think I have maybe 2 more. All right. And this one is another, a lot of these things that I'm writing these down, they're related. Develop the ability to bounce back. All right. Develop the ability to bounce back. I think that there's been times, certainly in my career and of the great agents that have mentored me, where some things have happened that would have wiped out the average agent because they would have just been so worked up by it that they would have quit or their mindset would have just been destroyed. But the real successful people have the ability to bounce back. It's like I said, when you get knocked down to the mat, you got to get up. Anybody ever seen the movie Lone Survivor or read the book Lone Survivor about the Navy SEAL who, a lot of those SEALs were killed in Afghanistan. And anyway, he like crawled with a broken back for 2 miles or whatever. And in there, it says something about the Navy SEAL creed. And I'll paraphrase, but basically it's like, no matter what happens, if I get kicked to the ground or shot or whatever, I'm going to get back up. I am never out of the fight. And it's certainly true about our Navy SEALs. And thank God they're on our team. And even though we're not as tough as Navy SEALs, and this is not as tough of a job as they have, you know what? Mentally, this can be exhausting. There can be a lot of things that could make you want to just stay on the ground and mope, but you can't. You got to develop the ability to bounce back because they're going to be there. And you realize if you don't bounce back, you're not going to get to the good stuff. So you can think about this. You can have down minutes. You can have down days even. Try not to stack them back to back. You might even have a month that didn't go that well. But what you can't allow is you can't have bad quarters. You can't have bad halves. You can't have bad years. And it's really up to you on how you react to it. You can't impact necessarily the things that happen around you all the time, but you can control how you react to them. And how you react to them is going to, a lot of times, determine how long they last. Because time is a great healer. If you have something bad and you deal with it and move forward, it's great. Ernie Chamberlain, a great agent in his own right. I mean, he's just killing. He's only been in the business about 5 or 6 years. And one of the most valuable things he's ever said to me was, when he has an issue, when Ernie has an issue, like a tough phone call to make or a tough issue, he deals with that first thing and gets it out of the way. And he knows, because he does that, because in the past, when he has let that fester and let that simmer, it just gets worse and it impacts. Somehow in the back of his mind, he continues to think about that as he deals with other people. He's not as effective with them or in those situations. He's found just deal with it and move on. So develop the ability to bounce back. Something hits you, you got to dust yourself off and you got to stand up and you got to move forward. One thing that I like is the support that we have at Hometown Realty. I mean, it's weird with COVID-19, but if, one of the things I love about working at the office is the camaraderie we have in the office and the fact that people are willing to help. That's not normal in the real estate business, because remember, we're all independent contractors. We're all out for ourselves. I think our culture is that, even though that's ultimately the case, we're all independent contractors, yet we know that we can all win. If I help you, then you might help me. And if we help each other, we're going to be better off than if we were just trying to go at it alone. So I love the team spirit, and that can help you have the ability to bounce back. One of the reasons that I try to stay as positive as I can, and I have good days and bad days, is because of you. I need to set a good example for you. I want to be positive. I want to be on top of my game so that you can say, well, gee, gosh, I didn't have that great of a day, but, Deane's smiling and whatever, and he seems to be fairly successful. And I think we have a lot of people that are positive role models in that department. So enough about that one. Then lastly, I wrote, to really get your mindset right, one of the best things you can do is just continuously focus on personal development. Once COVID is over, you're going to have some opportunities to go to seminars and see people like Brian Buffini or Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry, and you'll be able to just get the juice. It's almost like, I've never done any drugs, but I'm like, when I go see Brian Buffini or Tom or Mike Ferry, it's like somebody just takes and just push, hits me with some kind of super juice right in the vein. And if I don't, even if I don't learn anything, I feel great for at least a couple of weeks after I go to one of those things, and that is what, if you feel great and your mindset's right, then good things happen. I believe that if your mind is right, then the real estate gods sort of rain down good stuff on you. And if your mind is not right, then they rain. A lot of times there either is no rain, there's like a drought, or they only rain down bad stuff like locusts and stuff surround you. So you need to continuously think about what are you doing to become a better person, and that's personal development. Reading a good book, listening to podcasts. If you don't know a lot about podcasts, and I don't, but Benjamin Rogers does a really good one. Usually once a week he puts something out, and I love listening to it. It's a lot of it is I'm sort of a sports junkie, and a lot of these people are sports figures, and so he gets a lot of sports figures to come on and talk, and it just fires me up and gets me pumped up and helps me want to live my life in a better way and become a better real estate agent. So that's a little tip for you as well there. So anyway, that is a little bit of a mindset tune-up for you. Hopefully some of these points or one of these points resonated with you and you can do something with that. Does anybody have any quick questions before we wrap this bad boy up? You can unmute yourself and fire away if you have a question. Hi, Christina.
Yeah, what's your morning routine to get started?
Caitlin, give me that one more time.
What's your morning routine? So how do you get yourself started and pumped up and ready to go?
That's a great, I'm going to tell you the history of my morning routine. So when I first got in the business, I had no morning routine. I mean, I got up eventually and just sort of reacted. So the best element of my morning routine was when I went to a Mike Ferry seminar and I decided I was going to change my life. I'd gained a bunch of weight as I got in the real estate business because I ate at McDonald's every meal. And so I went down to Orlando and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get back in shape. So I decided that I would get up. I found the gym opened at 5 a.m. So at like 4:45, I got up, walked down to the gym in the Orlando Conference Center or whatever the hell, wherever we were. And there was like 25 people in line to get in the gym. I'm like, man, this is weird. Maybe there's not only a real estate convention, but maybe there's like a fitness convention going on here at the same hotel. So I go in the gym and I'm doing my thing, I'm lifting and whatever, and I'm doing my thing. And I'm like looking at all these crazy people that are there. I'm like, I didn't even know people worked out at this time. And then, so fast forward to like that later that day, they have, okay, now we're going to have the 20 heroes of the real estate business or whatever, the best real estate people in the whole world. And they start calling the names, people are going up on stage. I'd seen most of them before. Guess where I'd seen them? Where?
A gym.
The gym.
Yeah, that morning. So I'm like, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Don't tell my wife that. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I can do this. I can say, hey, the 25 world's greatest real estate agents, and it wasn't everybody, but a lot of those people that I saw in the gym were also up on that stage. I want to be on the stage. Therefore, I better get my ass in the gym. Does that, I mean, maybe that doesn't make sense to you. That made perfect sense to me. So then I changed that very day. I changed my morning routine to where I got up at 4:45. Now, because of my knee situation, my workout has changed. So I actually get to sleep in. I wake up at 5:10 every day. But for 23 years, I got up at 5. Actually, sometimes it was 5:46 because my clock changed and I didn't know how to change it back. So 4:45 to 5:10, that's when I get up and I go and exercise, usually for about 2 hours in the morning. Then I come back, shower up, play with my dog. Look, there's Dora. Can you see Dora? Say hi, Dora. You don't see Dora?
Hey, Dora.
Yeah.
Hey, Dora.
All right. Anyway, so then she needs exercise. So play with her, train her a little bit. Then I get to the office and I try to, as I'm driving to the office, I try to return calls and do some things. Then normally I'll try to sit down if I can, sit down and just deal with the most important things that I have written down from the night before, get those out of the way first. As a manager and an owner of Hometown Realty, a lot of times I get sidetracked with things that you don't need to get sidetracked with because people will come and want help from me and I'll try to help them. Time sensitive. So really my morning routine is 100% based on getting up at a consistent time and doing something that is good for me. And that way I feel like I am, by 8 o'clock, I am running at full speed where the rest of the world's still trying to wake up. Does that answer your question, Caitlin?
Yeah, and I guess what time do you end your workday? When is your cutoff?
Here's a side point. Modeling, if you're new to the business, doing it exactly how I do it now is not going to be good for you.
Right.
You have to look back because this is like a big boulder, so getting the boulder going, if you're brand new, it takes a lot of work to get the boulder going. And then once you get it going, you do different things to keep it going than you did to get it going. So I'm more in a maintenance thing. I try to help and manage my team. So I don't need to be doing as much. I don't need to keep putting as many new hooks in the water as you do.
Right.
So, but I can tell you when I first started, I would try to take one day off a week. All right. And so that day was dedicated. There was no real estate then, but then 6 days a week, I would work, I would get up and I would do whatever had to be done. And I would work until it was done. And sometimes that was 10 o'clock and sometimes that was 4:30.
Okay.
So, if you don't want to lose your family over this. You don't want to sacrifice your health over this. You need to have a plan. If you have a family and people that care about you and they need you, you need to sit down and map it out to where, hey, maybe on Tuesday you come home at 2 o'clock, but then on Wednesday you stay until 8. Because there is a direct correlation between how much work you put in and what you're going to get out.
Right.
Does that help you?
It does. And I'm trying to figure out a good CRM to use to kind of keep track of my people and kind of where I'm at with the leads.
Well, I like the Buffini CRM, the Referral Maker CRM. I think they'll give it to you on a trial basis so you can check it out. I'm not a commissioned salesperson for Brian Buffini, but it seems to be good. I don't use it to its full capacity. I can tell you that our team, we just delivered, Suzanne, 300 plus pies for Thanksgiving. And Suzanne gets a big gold star because she delivered the most. I think she did almost 100 pies in 3 days, right, Suzanne?
Yeah.
So for me, it just I got my pie list. I can just hit on Joe Blow and boom, it gives me directions right away. My notes are right there, so I can see that Joe and Sally had a baby 2 years ago, and his birthday is next week, and whatever else. So it's, if you know, that one to me is really good. I used to use a thing called Top Producer. I don't really remember that. It was fine, but I like Buffini's better. If you're doing things like notes, calls, pop buys, and you like to be reminded of that and organize that, then the Buffini thing, I mean, he is Mr. Calls, Notes, and Pop buys, so it works perfectly for that.
Okay.
Yes, Dean, I'd love to interject. So Caitlin, I'm on Dean's team and I use that to start out, and it's really good especially if you don't already have something set up. But I use Google so much that I was finding myself doing double work. So I use a combination now of Google and Excel spreadsheet, and it's not perfect. And once I don't have a part-time job with this, I'm going to figure something out. But Buffini's cool. I mean, it's really cool and very thorough.
Have you ever checked into Streak? I know that's like a new thing that popped up for me.
No, I'd be interested if you tried what you figure out.
Okay.
Streaking was really popular in the 70s. And it could be a nice,
Not that Streak, Dean.
it could be a nice open house thing to attract, or maybe to turn business away. It just depends on.
I'd scare everybody away.
Yeah, a little humor here for the real estate business.
What was that?
Little humor in the real estate business. You just can't get enough of it. Okay. What other kind of questions might you have before I go to a photo shoot? Look, there's a dog.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you. Remember this. All right, your mind is going to make you or break you in this business, and you've got to take control of it. And you can. Zig Ziglar says everybody know who Zig Ziglar was? He was like the world's greatest like motivational speaker. He died a few years ago, and I saw him at the Richmond Coliseum one time, and he said every so often you got to give yourself a checkup from the neck up. Okay, and what that means is maybe sitting back once or twice a day and saying, where am I mentally? Am I in the game? Because you know, like. I'll find myself all the time, like being short with people or whatever else. I'm like, you dumbass, stop that. You know, why are you doing that? And you just gotta, and you can switch it on and off. You're the one who controls this. Nobody else controls this but you. And so think about that. Give yourself a checkup from the neck up, and hopefully then you can turn that switch and stay positive and be focused the way you should be.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, everybody. We're going to end the recording, and then you can go on and sell thousands of houses, make yourselves a hero, and then I'll talk about you on the next training call. How about that? Thanks for your time. See ya.